Imagine finally saving enough to open your dream shop, only to be scammed by a fake company and completely ghosted. I was living that nightmare. No police help, no legal recourse. Just pure frustration. But instead of letting it go, I decided to hit back. Not with fists, with strategy. This is the true story of how I turned the tables on scammers and made sure they'll never mess with another small business again. Grab your tea, this gets wild. Running a business in Southeast Asia isn't for the faint of heart. Between the rising costs, the endless competition, and the unpredictable economy, you either hustle hard or you get left behind. And I hustled. I started small, like really small. My office was my bedroom. My inventory took up half my living space. My workspace was my dining table, but I had a dream. I always wanted to open a physical shop. Not just to grow my business, but to create a space that felt real, a space I could be proud of. That dream kept me up at night and got me out of bed in the morning. I've been saving for years, making just enough to survive and stack a little each month. I said no to vacations, skipped birthdays, even skipped meals sometimes. Every cent I earned went right back into the business. I was building something for myself, and I knew that the day I finally opened my own shop, all the sacrifices would be worth it. I'll never forget the day I found the perfect spot for my store. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't even in a big commercial area, but it had potential. It was mine. The rent nearly scared me off, but I told myself, if not now, when? I signed the lease with trembling hands and a heart full of hope. Finally, all my hard work was going to pay off. Now, let me tell you, setting up a physical shop is no joke. From renovations to permits to sourcing fixtures, every detail needed my attention. But the one thing that really excited me was the signage. That sign out front would be the first thing people saw. It had to be perfect, clean, bold, and memorable. It had to reflect my brand and make people stop and look. I knew that the sign would either make or break first impressions. So I started looking for signage companies, scrolling through local listings, checking prices, and reading reviews. I wanted to support another small business, someone local like me. When I found this company, we'll call them Bright Edge Signs, they looked legit. They had a decent-looking Facebook page, they replied quickly, and their quote was reasonable. Everything seemed right. I reached out, asked questions, and even talked to someone who claimed to be the owner. He was friendly, polite, and seemed to understand what I wanted. He sent me mock-ups and gave me a breakdown of the process. I felt good about it. Finally, things were moving forward. I made the payment as agreed, partial upfront, with the rest due on completion. My shop was slowly coming together. This was supposed to be the beginning of something beautiful. But what came next? It turned everything into a nightmare. So there I was, deep in renovation chaos, juggling contractors, furniture deliveries, and a never-ending to-do list when I realized it was time to lock in my signage. I needed something eye-catching, bold, and professional, something that screamed, "We're open for business," without actually having to scream. I figured Facebook was the quickest way to find local signage makers, so I typed in a few keywords and up popped Bright Edge Signs. Their profile looked decent, clean branding, samples of their work, and a bunch of posts with decent engagement. Nothing screamed scam at first glance. I clicked through their photos. They had a gallery full of shopfront signs, illuminated boards, even acrylic letterings. It looked like they'd done work for cafes, laundromats, and small kiosks. The captions were detailed, talking about materials used, timelines, customer satisfaction. It gave me the impression that they were legit and had a good handle on what they were doing. There were even comments from people saying, "Thanks again," or "Looks great, nothing suspicious, no warnings, no red flags." At that point, it was just a matter of messaging them. I dropped them a message, introduced myself, and asked for a quote. They replied within minutes. Fast, polite, professional. They asked all the right questions: what kind of signage, indoor or outdoor, lit or not, size, placement, etc. They seemed to know their stuff, and honestly, that felt like a breath of fresh air after dealing with some very unreliable contractors during my setup. After some back and forth, they sent me a quotation. It was detailed and looked very official. The breakdown included materials, labor, installation, and even a note about a 5-day completion timeline. The price wasn't dirt cheap, but it was competitive. More importantly, it seemed reasonable. We agreed I'd pay 50% up front, and the rest once the job was done. It all seemed very standard. I transferred the deposit, sent them a copy of the receipt, and they confirmed they received it. They said work would begin immediately, and that I'd get updates as it progressed. At that point, I felt a wave of relief. One more task checked off the list. I was finally getting closer to opening day. But that feeling didn't last. A few days passed with no updates. I figured maybe they were just busy. Then a week went by. I sent them a message. No reply. Another 2 days, nothing. Finally, after about 10 days, they replied with a vague message. We had some delays due to supplier issues. Your signage will be ready soon. I wasn't happy, but I let it slide. Delays happen, right? Another week passed. Still no updates, no photos, no proof that anything was being worked on? This time, when I messaged them, I got no reply at all. That's when the sinking feeling hit. You know that gut feeling that tells you something is off? It hit me like a brick, so I tried calling. The number rang, then went straight to voicemail. I tried again later. This time, it was switched off. I messaged from a different number. Miraculously, they replied. But when they realized it was me, they stopped again. That's when the full realization came crashing down. I'd been ghosted. And not just ghosted, scammed. I was in disbelief. I gave them the benefit of the doubt at first, thinking maybe something happened. Maybe they had an emergency. But then, out of nowhere, I got a final message from them that felt like a slap in the face. We've completed your order. You were the one who canceled the installation. What? I never canceled anything. I never even talked about canceling. They straight up lied to my face. They knew I had no way to prove anything, no paper contract, just screenshots and receipts. And even worse, they acted like I was the one being unreasonable. That flipped a switch in me. I stopped being sad. I got angry. And that anger, that's what led me down a rabbit hole I never expected. A rabbit hole that revealed just how deep the scam ran and how I was going to bring it all crashing down. At first, I tried to stay calm. Delays happen, right? I told myself maybe they were just overwhelmed with orders. Maybe their supplier really did mess something up. I didn't want to believe that I'd been scammed after all. I'd done everything right. But then it started becoming too obvious. What? After that vague message about supplier delays, they completely disappeared. I sent polite follow-ups every 2 days. Hi, just checking in on the status. No reply. Hey, any update on my signage? Nothing, not even a blue tick. I waited. A full week passed. Still silence. Then I started calling. Their main number went straight to voicemail. I tried during the day, in the evening, even early morning. Still nothing. I started to panic, not just out of frustration, but because my opening date was approaching fast. Without that sign, I'd be invisible. People wouldn't know I existed. I might as well be closed, so I got smart. I borrowed a friend's phone and messaged them, pretending to be a new customer. And guess what? They replied instantly. That's when it all clicked. They weren't busy. They weren't delayed. They were dodging me on purpose. My stomach dropped. I asked my friend to ask for a quote just to confirm. They responded with the same politeness they used on me in the beginning. Friendly, responsive, even sent photos again. Same company, same fake charm. I couldn't believe it. After everything, the planning, the money, the hope, I was just another easy target to them. Fueled by fury, I messaged them again. This time I wasn't polite. I asked them point blank. Where is my sign? Why have you disappeared? I've paid you and you've delivered nothing. They didn't reply. So I left a comment on their most recent Facebook post. Something simple and calm. Hi, still waiting on my signage order. It's been 3 weeks and no updates. Please respond. They deleted the comment within minutes. That's when I knew they were frauds. No legit business deletes public comments from actual customers, unless they've got something to hide. Then came the kicker. A day later, I finally got a WhatsApp message from the number I'd been chasing. It read, "Hi, we've marked your order as complete. You told us to cancel the installation. We will not be refunding your deposit." I froze. What? I never said that, not once. I had written proof. Every single message backed me up. I never even hinted at canceling. They were trying to rewrite the story. gaslight me into silence. They thought if they used confident language, I'd just back off. But they underestimated how far a pissed-off small business owner is willing to go. That message didn't just make me mad, it broke something inside me. That helplessness when you know you've been conned and no one is going to help you. I was stunned. Then I was shaking. I wanted to scream, throw my phone, something, anything. I went to the police the next day. I brought everything: screenshots, receipts, the conversation timeline, even their deleted messages I managed to recover. But the officer barely looked at it. This is a civil matter. We can't do anything unless it's more than insert legal threshold here. I asked if they could at least file a report. They shrugged. You can try consumer protection. So I did. Consumer Affairs listened to me politely, then handed me a form and said it could take months, if anything came of it at all. I filled it out anyway, but I already knew nothing would happen. No one was going to make this right for me. I felt humiliated, angry, lost. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the principle. I had trusted someone. I had played by the rules, and they spat in my face, but I wasn't done. Oh no, if no one was going to help me, I was going to help myself. And if they thought they could scam me and walk away untouched, they were about to find out they messed with the wrong person. Once I realized I was being scammed, something inside me switched. No more playing nice. No more hoping for a reply. If no one else was going to protect small business owners like me, I was going to do it myself. I turned my frustration into focus, and I started digging hard. First stop, their business name, Bright Edge Signs. I went to our local business registration database, the kind that lets you search whether a company is legally registered. Typed it in. Nothing. Not a single hit. I tried variations of the name. Still nothing. I even searched the name of the so-called owner who messaged me. Nada. That was my first confirmation. These guys weren't just shady, they were operating completely off the grid. No license, no registration, no accountability. Just a Facebook page and a phone number. Next, I searched their business address. It was listed on their quote, and I even remember asking them if I could drop by to see samples in person. They said they were fully remote for now due to renovations. That should have been my first red flag, but I was too trusting. Too focused on the end goal. I plugged the address into Google Maps and did a satellite view. It was someone's house. Not even a house-turned-office. A normal residential house in a quiet neighborhood. No signboard, no branding, no business activity, just a driveway and a few parked cars. My blood boiled. They were literally running this scam out of their living room. At this point, I wasn't just angry, I was obsessed. I started checking their Facebook page post by post, looking at the likes and comments. Most of the clients looked like regular accounts, but a few were fishy. No profile pictures, or all their posts were in some other language, or their timelines were empty. This time, someone picked up. A man answered, sounding casual and friendly. I asked, "Hi, is this Bright Edge Signs?" He paused, then said, "Yes, who's this?" I gave a fake name and asked if they were taking new orders. He said, "Always." "What kind of signage are you looking for?" That's when I snapped. I dropped the act and said, "I'm the person you scammed. You took my deposit and ghosted me." Silence. Then he hung up. I called again, blocked. I switched SIMs again. Same story. If he realized it was me, he vanished. Just like that, poof. Fueled by rage and caffeine, I gathered every shred of evidence I had. Screenshots, receipts, timeline of events. I walked back into the police station, slapped the file on the counter and said, "This is fraud. This is a scam operation. You have to do something." The officer barely looked at it. He asked how much I lost, I told him.
He sighed and said, "Look, for cases under insert amount, we can't really investigate."
You can try filing a civil suit, but that takes time and money. Maybe go to Consumer Affairs. It felt like a bad joke repeating itself. So I went to Consumer Affairs again, brought the same file. This time they actually filed my report, but they warned me that cases involving unregistered businesses often go unresolved. I asked if they'd contact Facebook to take down the page. They said that wasn't under their scope. I asked what happens now. Just wait for an update. Weeks passed. No update. That helplessness started creeping back in, but now it was mixed with pure fire. I couldn't let this go. I wasn't just doing this for myself anymore. I was doing it for every other small business owner who might fall into the same trap. I'd already wasted time and money, but I wasn't about to waste the lesson. This wasn't just about recovering my deposit anymore. This was about exposing them, shaming them, making sure no one else would fall for their smooth talk and fake promises. So I pulled out my laptop, opened a new document, and started crafting my next move. If the system wouldn't stop them, I would. After all the lies, ghosting, and dead ends, I had two options: let it go and move on, or take matters into my own hands. And let me be clear, I seriously considered going full savage. It would have been so easy to start prank calling them with fake orders, spam their phones with NSFW messages, or worse. If I got caught doing something shady, suddenly I'd be the one in trouble. And the last thing I needed was to be painted as the aggressor while they played the victim. No thanks. I wanted justice, not jail time, but no. That wasn't the kind of revenge I wanted. I didn't want to just annoy them. I wanted to ruin their game. Illegal revenge might feel satisfying for a second, but I knew better. I wrote a long, clear, calm post on my own timeline. Another one. I was gonna pay them tomorrow. You just saved me. From small business owners in my city, to shopfront setup tips, to exposing scammers C edition. I posted the same message in each one. No shouting, no name calling, just facts. I explained who they were, what they did, how they ghosted me, and how they tried to flip the story. I even paid a few bucks to boost it on Facebook for local visibility. They wanted to stay invisible, but I put them right on the map for all the wrong reasons. I didn't rant, I documented everything. So instead I went strategic, cold, professional, the way they never expected. New comments were being screen captured and reposted in business groups with captions like, "Notice how fast they delete negative reviews." They deleted it, of course, but I kept reposting. Friends helped too. One by one, they dropped similar reviews based on my notes. They didn't curse or accuse, they simply said what happened.
Calm, factual, undeniable, first move, exposure.
I went back to Facebook and took screenshots of every message, receipt, and deleted comment. A few even replied thanking me for the heads up and said they'd heard similar rumors. My small act of revenge was turning into a full-blown reputation meltdown for them. I've attached the story below in case your clients ever mention them, or if they try to pose as subcontractors. I updated the title to something sharp. Avoid this fake signage company in city name, my scam story. Then I made sure to use the right keywords throughout. Bright edge sign scam, fake signage city, signboard fraud, unregistered company. I even embedded local landmarks in the metadata so it would show up in nearby searches. Just looking out for the rest of us. Then I joined every local business and community group one could find. I warned fellow entrepreneurs. Here's how a fake signage company tried to scam me. Don't make the same mistake. The comments came flooding in. People were shocked. Angry. Some even messaged me privately saying they'd almost hired the same company. I was protecting people, and that hit way harder than any prank ever could. At this point, I wasn't just reacting, I was executing a full-blown campaign. Every move was deliberate. Every action backed by receipts. My goal wasn't just revenge, it was prevention. What started as a few clicks became hundreds, then thousands. People weren't just reading it, they were sharing it. They scammed me and a few others. Attaches my full report, feel free to share with your team. Some people even recognized the same scammer by voice or message patterns. One person commented, "They messaged me on Facebook last month. I was suspicious. Now I know why." Turns out my post had reached enough people that they were calling to confront them, ask for refunds, or simply troll them for fun. Karma had officially entered the chat. One even messaged me privately. I only helped them once with laser cutting. Didn't know they were scamming people. I'm out. Another said, "This thread should be pinned in every small business group." That's brutal. Exactly the result I wanted. They deleted half their posts and tried to rebrand with a slightly different name. I was this close to hiring them, but it was too late. The screenshots were already out, the keywords already ranked. Every new alias they tried would just lead back to the blog. I didn't want another small business owner to go through what I did. And I wanted Bright Edge signs to feel the pressure from every direction. But the internet never forgets. People had already started taking screenshots. At first I was annoyed. But then I realized it was perfect. Blocking people only made them look guiltier. It screamed desperation. And every time they deleted a comment, someone reposted it in a business group with captions like, "Look what they're hiding." And while I may never get my money back, I got something even better. The satisfaction of knowing I ruined their game legally. A few said they had and were still waiting on orders that never arrived. They changed their profile name, slightly added a services at the end, and updated their logo. But it was too late. My blog was already ranking on search engines. And I had already added keywords for every variation of their name I could think of. Every time they changed it, I updated the blog to match. I let their own behavior bring them down, amplified by a little strategy and a whole lot of internet. My post gave her the closure she never thought she'd get. Another guy said he had doubts about them, but didn't he have proof until he saw my blog? Clients backed out, collaborators distanced themselves, and their reputation? Completely annihilated. He never paid, and now he's warning his own circle. Sometimes it feels like crawling out of a wreckage, bruised, exhausted, but still standing. Gone. Deleted. Whether they pulled it themselves or got mass reported, I don't know. Exposing them took weeks of emotional labor, late nights, second-guessing myself, and reliving the betrayal over and over just to get people to listen. There were no lawyers, no investigations, no compensation. Just me, my laptop, and a lot of rage I turned into strategy. Every post, every comment, every message I sent felt like reopening a wound, but I kept going because I knew someone had to. But one day I checked, and it just wasn't there anymore. One person said, "Oh my God, they quoted me last week." I knew something was off. And every customer who walks through that door reminds me exactly why I refused to stay quiet. They thought I'd be just another silent victim. But they forgot that small business owners, we fight back harder than anyone. I didn't just survive, I exposed them so they could never do this again. If you've ever been scammed, I see you. And if you're thinking of messing with honest people, think again. Smash that like button if you're all for justice. Subscribe for more stories where karma comes knocking hard. It exposed gaps in the system, blind spots in how we trust businesses, and the strength we find in each other when we fight back together. That was the hardest pill to swallow. I followed the rules. I documented everything. And I still got brushed off like it wasn't serious, like I was being dramatic. It wasn't just about money, it was about trust, dignity, my dream. This was a pattern. A scam operation that relied on silence, shame, and the system's inability to act quickly. That's when I knew I'd hit a nerve, but we couldn't verify anything. Your post connects the dots. The people who messaged me, shared my posts, thanked me. They reminded me that we're not alone. That when someone dares to speak up, others find their voice too. I didn't move on. I moved smart. The beauty of exposing scammers is watching them try and fail to clean up the mess. The moment my blog and social media posts started gaining traction, Bright Edge signs went into full-blown panic mode. That file got passed around faster than I expected. Another signage company said, "We'll blacklist them and make sure no referrals go their way." I even started a blog, just a simple free one. The title, Scammed by Bright Edge Signs, a warning to small business owners. I wrote out the full story, embedded screenshots, and tagged it with every possible keyword. Fake signboard company, Bright Edge scam, signage scam in city, etc. Then I made sure Google would find it. I shared the link everywhere. Reddit, Twitter, WhatsApp groups. Within days, my post started appearing when you Googled their business name. Then I circled back to their Facebook page. I left a polite review with my full story. Bright Edge started losing control. They couldn't delete fast enough, and worse, people were catching on, fast, and the final touch. I made a list of local signage companies, real, registered ones, and emailed each of them with a short message. "Hi, I run a small business in city and was recently scammed by an unregistered signage company pretending to be legitimate. I figured these companies would be more than happy to keep a scammer out of their lane, and I was right. So now, not only was Bright Edge's reputation destroyed in public circles, but legit businesses were also closing their doors on them. I didn't need to hack anything. I didn't need to shout. I let the truth speak loudly and repeatedly. Every post I made, every message I sent, every link I shared was one more brick in the wall closing in on them. I wasn't just getting my revenge. First, I fine-tuned my blog post for maximum visibility. Then I dropped links to the post in every relevant space: Reddit threads, local forums and community pages, business WhatsApp and Telegram groups, Facebook neighborhood watch groups, startup support circles. The blog started gaining traction. I could see the view count rising each day. Next, I took to Reddit with a detailed thread titled, "How I Got Scammed by a Fake Signboard Company in C Country. Here's how I exposed them." The Reddit post blew up. Entrepreneurs jumped in with their own horror stories. Then came the outreach to legit signage companies. I sent a friendly but firm message to over 20 companies in my area. "Hi, just a heads up. There is an unregistered group posing as a signage provider under the name Bright Edge Signs." A few ignored me, but most thanked me. One even replied, "We've heard of them before clients mentioned their name." I also made a simple PDF version of my experience and shared it in printing signage circles. No drama, no clickbait, just truth. And then the fallout began. I got a message from someone who had tried to contact Bright Edge recently, only to find their number flooded with missed calls and angry inquiries. A friend who works in digital marketing messaged me saying, "Bro, your blog comes up as the first result when you Google their name now." Over the next few weeks, I started hearing whispers. People who used to work with the scammer freelancers, subcontractors distanced themselves. Their Facebook page, it went into lockdown.
Comments disabled, reviews turned off, best of all.
Messages started pouring into my inbox from other small business owners. "Thanks to your post, I avoided losing ARM 600. Your blog saved me. We need more people like you calling this stuff out." That right there, that was the payoff. The scammers lost credibility. They lost leads. They lost future clients. I never had to fake a call. Never had to spam their inbox. My revenge wasn't just for me. It was for every person who has ever been scammed and told to just move on. First, they tried deleting comments. Any negative review or public complaint on their Facebook page vanished within hours. Then they blocked me. And not just me, anyone who commented negatively or even asked about my story got instantly banned from their page. Next came the sudden rebranding attempt. Then came the inevitable. Their Facebook page disappeared completely. That was the moment I knew I won. But it didn't stop there. People started messaging me privately. Some shared their own horror stories. They took a 70% deposit from me and ghosted. I thought I was the only one. "I'm so glad you spoke up. I never had the courage to post." One woman told me she lost 1,200 Malaysian ringgits to them and was too embarrassed to tell her family. The more people shared, the more it became clear this wasn't a one-off, but their silence didn't work on me. And my noise? It worked too well. They had no idea who they messed with. Their fake business, once comfortably hiding behind digital walls, was now being dragged into the spotlight. They thought I'd be just another victim. Instead, I became the storm that wrecked their entire scam. Winning doesn't always feel like a celebration. By the time their business collapsed under the weight of the truth, I didn't feel victorious in the way I expected. I felt drained. The system that was supposed to protect me, police, consumer authorities, failed at every turn. Getting justice outside the system was empowering, but it was also lonely. But through all of that, I learned something powerful. Resilience isn't always about being tough. It's about not backing down, even when everything feels pointless. I also learned how important community is. This experience didn't just expose a scammer. Would I wish this on anyone else? Absolutely not. But did I come out stronger, sharper, and more fearless? Without a doubt. My shop finally opened, by the way, sign or no sign.